Let's go to our Tuesday night panel now with the Herald Sun's Susie O'Brien joining us from Melbourne and Radio 2CC breakfast host Stephen Senatiempo in the nation's capital. Thanks both for joining us. Let's go to you first off this week, Stephen. Tell us about Albo in Germany signing up to the Climate Club. I mean, this just comes out of nowhere, and this is about a global carbon price. How come none of the media have been talking about this today?
Well, look, you got to give it to him for versatility. I thought he was there meeting with NATO. But look, it's just extraordinary that we keep going down this rabbit hole, particularly in the context of the cost of living crisis we're going through in Australia at the moment, that is largely driven by our exorbitant energy prices. And we've got a Prime Minister overseas grandstanding on the international stage, signing up to something that's going to achieve absolutely nothing. It's extraordinary. But, and we can't forget too that he's over there meeting with NATO after offering Ukraine a bunch of 1960s equipment, because the stuff they really wanted, apparently we know better than them as to what they need on the ground over there. So the gloss is starting to come off these international trips, I've got to say.
Well, I tell you what, on this Climate Club thing, Susie, this is outrageous because, you know, the one little straw we've been hanging on to in Australia, as bad as it's gotten here, as we've been able to say, look at Europe, look at Germany and the UK, the energy crisis is even worse there, and now we're in with them. We want to be just like those guys. We want to share their views on carbon pricing.
Well, you know why people haven't been talking about it today? Because there are a lot of other things that are occupying Australians right now. There's some new polling that's come out today that shows that a quarter of Australians are doing it really, really tough. 40% are really struggling to pay their bills. They're feeling the heat, and only a third feel that they're in a comfortable financial position. So, you know, I think people are wanting to do play their part, and they're, going to the gym less. I must admit, who knew going to the gym was going to be good for the economy? Not going to the gym was going to be good for the economy. People are willing to do these things. They're not booking holidays. They're doing all sorts of things. And so they want to make sure that the Prime Minister is also, using his time wisely. And the essential research showed that 77% of people think that there's more that the government could be doing, whether it's capping energy prices or allowing more wage increases. Of course, that would have its own inflationary effect, but people do want to see Albanese doing more.
That's the problem. But what he's done in Germany, signing up to the Climate Club, is only going to make energy prices worse in this country, and that flows through to everything. This is one of the few areas where the government can do something to try and ease the cost of living, and he's taken action in Germany to make it worse. Meanwhile, you got his numpty, the Deputy Prime Minister, Richard Marles, talking about this sort of stuff when it comes to the cost of living.
Fee-free TAFE, the downward pressure that we placed on energy bills, cheaper medicines and the like. And the reason we have been focused on that is because we really do understand the pressure that the cost of living pressures that people are experiencing.
Give me a break, Stephen. It's the renewables energy zealotry pushing up electricity prices. It's the re-regulation of the labour market is reducing productivity. And it's the rampant government spending that's fueling inflation. Why don't they actually look at the things they can control?
Well, and that's the point, isn't it? I mean, and if you look at all those examples that Richard Marles uses there of what they're doing to bring down the cost of living, they're tinkering around the edges. You know, things like cheaper medicines are great for a small percentage of the population, but on the broader scale, they really don't have that much impact. They talk about making childcare cheaper, but the reality is all they're doing is pushing the price of that up. At every turn, they seem to be exacerbating the problem, all the while talking about, they're focused on cost of living, but it's the one thing that they don't want to talk about, and when they do, they pay lip service to it but don't actually achieve anything. And you're right, the two areas that they can actually do something with is energy prices and government spending, and they're the two things that they seem hell-bent on reversing the trend on, if you like, for lack of a better way of putting it. You got Chris Bowen out there, in the midst of an energy crisis, the single most incompetent minister in the government, talking about renewables and plugging your toaster into the sky and all of that kind of rubbish. And then, of course, they've added to government spending.
And we may well ask what that's got to do with the price of eggs.
He's not looking as incompetent.
Now we've got eggs. Egg prices, Susie, are going to nearly double because we decide a country that can't provide enough houses for its people is now focused on what sort of housing the frigging chooks are in.
See, I don't have a problem with this. You know, if we are in a cost of living crisis. Most people wouldn't be able to afford to spend $15 on a dozen eggs. I would pay it, but I would buy less eggs. And I think a lot of younger people would do the same because I think people do actually care about the conditions that the animals are living in. Of course, I still eat chicken, so there is a sort of issue
they
there
don't
morally.
care about the
but while
chooks,
the animals are alive, I actually want them to be...
Look, when you buy eggs and it says free-range chooks...
I think this $15 thing is a complete...
You reckon that's just marketing, or you reckon those chooks are the really happy chooks that are running around the...
Yeah, no, they are very highly regulated, and I think this $15 thing is just scaremongering from the egg industry who do not want this to come in any sooner.
Highly regulated, like carbon farming and the rest of it. I'm very, very sceptical.
Yeah.
I like chooks and I like eggs, and I think we should house our people before we decide to set all the chooks free.